I had read his report 3 times by the morning of the negotiation. A man who sees clearly and chooses silence is either useful or dangerous. I had not yet determined which. I decided the negotiation would tell me. The contract draft was on the desk by 7. I had been at it since 6. Not because it required the time, but because I wanted to know every line, the way I know a route before I travel it. Every clause, every term, every place, where a careful reader would pause. I had written one of those places myself. It sat in the middle of the draft, in the section covering seasonal yield guarantees. A clause more stringent than any Southern house would typically demand, framed in the precise technical language of a Northern grain route operator. Not fraudulently excessive, just noticeably so to anyone who knew what they were reading. It was a test. If he missed it, he was useful but not perceptive. If he caught it and said nothing, he was cautious. If he pushed back directly, I would know his quality. I did not tell Xiao Yan what the clause was for. She read the draft, turned to the page with the yield guarantee, looked at it for a moment, looked up at me, and said, "That clause is not Southern." I said, "No." She said nothing further. She refilled the tea. This was the correct response. Zhu Shan arrived with his attendant at the 2nd hour. The room was set as it should be. Suyin at the head of the table. Xiao Yan at my left with the document case open. Chang Bao at Zhu Shan's right with a clean ledger. 4 people who understood that the purpose of a room like this is to conduct business without revealing how much of it is not business. The first 30 minutes were unremarkable. Route terms, delivery schedules, commission structures on the Eastern Depot line. I watched him the way I watch any counterpart, for the place where the professional manner goes slightly thin. He was good. He did not perform confidence. He did not fill silence with qualification. He simply occupied the room without requiring it to expand for him, the way a man occupies space when he has spent years learning that presence is not the same as volume. I noted this. I returned to the terms. Then we reached the clause. He read it once. He read it again. He looked up at me and said, without inflection, without pause, "You don't actually want this clause. You want to see if I'll push back." I held his gaze. I said nothing. He said, "I'll push back." He proposed a modified version. I noted this without showing it. His counter was not a Southern adjustment. It was precisely what a Northern route operator would offer. Not the geography he was representing. Mine. The room was quiet for a moment. I gave him the clause, modified. He took it without comment. The specific kind of without comment. That is not indifference, but acknowledgment that the exchange has already said what needed to be said. We moved to the amended terms. He was reviewing the Eastern Depot section when I reached across the table to mark a correction on the draft. The jade ring caught the light. He glanced at it, not at my face, at the ring, then back at the document. He said, without looking up, "The Xiao family has been trading Southern routes for how long?" I said, "My family has been in trade since before I could read a ledger." He nodded. He asked, still reading, "And the grain supplier on the Huai tributary? You said your house has used them for 2 decades. I said yes. He looked up then. He said, "That supplier relocated 12 years ago. Their current address is only known to traders who worked this city before the relocation. The room did not change. My expression did not change. I said, "We keep thorough records." He said, "You do." He looked at me the way a man looks at something he has already decided on. Not the look of a question, the look of a conclusion. Then he looked back at the contract. He said the meeting had been interesting. He used the word the way a man uses it, when he means considerably more than the word. I received this in the professional register. I noted the weight he put on it. I did not acknowledge the weight. I returned the register to the contract. At the close of the meeting, as Chungbao collected the documents from the far end of the table, Yushan said, "I found this meeting interesting. I expect the next one will be as well." The word again. The same weight. Deliberate. Unhidden. I said, "The next meeting will concern the Eastern Depot terms. I'll have Yan send the draft by the end of the week. Entirely professional." His framing received and returned without acknowledgment, which is itself an acknowledgment of a particular kind. He did not adjust. He was not discouraged. He said, "I'll look forward to it." He said it the way a man says something. He means without needing to perform the meaning. Xiao Yan, at the side of the room, found the document case extremely interesting to look at for the full duration of this exchange. After they left, she was quiet for approximately 10 seconds. Then she said, "The Eastern Depot terms." I said, "Yes." She said, "Right." She did not pursue it. She did not need to. I read his second report 2 days later. The professional summary was clean. Terms agreed. Depot commission rates established. Consortium assessed as solvent and professionally competent. Negotiations proceeding. Standard, precise, unremarkable. I looked for the space where the supplier recognition would go. The Huai tributary. The 12-year relocation. The knowledge that cannot be Southern. The space was blank. He had written one line at the bottom. One line. Wearing the clothes of a professional recommendation, while being something else entirely. Recommend continuing negotiations in person. I held the jade ring. I thought, a man who omits what he knows, without being asked, without being thanked, without explaining himself, that is not a variable. That is a position. I did not know yet what to do with that. I filed it where I file things that require more time, which is carefully, and near the front. Wen Xian learned that the most revealing thing a man can do is not what he writes. It is what he sees clearly, understands completely, and chooses to leave blank. This has been a whisper from the tea house. The next episode drops soon. Come back for what happens next.